Hello and welcome, and thank you very much for staying tuned and staying here. Well, 26,000 teachers removed from their payroll. Now, if you have followed Ghana civil service story a little bit, if you know of any other institution other than the cemetery where ghosts are really alive, it's the Ghana civil service, where there are thousands and hundreds of ghosts, and these ghosts take a wage. I don't know if they get pension though, but they do take a wage. And so for every government who comes in, your idea is to try and get some of these ghosts off the system to reduce your wage bill. And so one such incident took place where all teachers were supposed to register biometrically, put their names in there somewhere so that the ghosts may not be able to come and biometric themselves. However, some teachers did not adhere to this deadline, and therefore the accountant general says, well, if you haven't registered, I'm not going to pay you. The teachers are saying, no, you will pay us. So there's so many questions asking. Number one, why won't the accountant general just extend? If indeed there are no ghosts and they are there, why don't you allow them to come and register? And to the teachers, you ask them, look, you of all the teaching fraternity should have known best and hadn't done. So what's going on? Teachers are saying, if you don't let us register, we will take you on. So what's going to happen? That's what we are talking about today. My name is Nana Sakwal, the fourth Akwamu Edumasahini, and your favorite TV show host. When I come back, I will introduce my guests. Don't move forward. Thank you very much. My guest today, Angel Kabonu, Vice President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers. He knows all about this stuff. You're welcome, and I haven't seen you this year.
This year, no. We've not met after the elections.
No. That's unusually too long.
Yes, yes.
That's unusually too long.
Yes.
But Angel, I mean, what's going on? One would say teachers are being unrealistic.
Yeah, this issue is an issue that has been misrepresented. And I think the misrepresentation started from the technocrats misrepresenting information to government. And then that led government to take a certain action. Look, every government wouldn't want to pay people who do not exist. Every government will not. So when the technocrats present something to government that, look, we think these people are ghost names, every government will immediately take steps to take them off the payroll. But I think the government has been misinformed in this instance, and let me explain. About a year or two ago, Controller and Accountant General's Department decided to digitize the information on its payroll in line with modern trends. And that's a very good thing to do. So every worker on Controller and Accountant General's payroll is now, went through a process of biometric registration, giving biometric information so that they can digitize their information. We thought this was enough. Then afterwards, SNIT also came in and said, well, we also want to do biometric registration. So they also went through, in this country, something that can be done from a central point. You have every sector doing almost the same thing, wasting the taxpayers' money. So SNIT also came in and decided to do biometric registration. But we realized that SNIT was not able to get to every corner of this country to register people. So some 26,000 or more people could not get registered.
That's a lot.
It could be the fault of the workers, and it also could be the difficulty of SNIT getting down to where the people are. So at the end of the day, we had a problem where it is informed, we were informed that those 26 or more people were going to be expunged from the payroll. The question we asked immediately is that how were we sure that these people actually are not workers, who were not, who SNIT could not get to in their registration exercise? Two, has SNIT completed its exercise? If it had, it should have presented names out. We validate the names, authenticate the information before it gets into data. Because in the world of, in a digitized world, when you get the wrong information on national data, you create a problem for the future. That's 26,000 people because they are not on SNIT biometric registration.
But biometric solves that. I mean, once I go and biometric, that's it. I mean, elimination of all chances of it not being me. That's me.
Yes, but fine. We don't have a problem with that. We actually support that. Where we have a problem is to say that once you did not register with SNIT biometrically, you automatically lose your salary. And we have a difficulty in establishing the relationship between controller and accountant general paying me for the job that I have done, for the very fact that the unit managers have authenticated my presence, that I have really worked, for me losing my salary just because I have not registered with another agency. I have a difficulty in the first place establishing the link. Maybe it is a means by which they could coerce people to get registered. But we think that in doing this, you have to do it cautiously, because the purpose of Controller and Accountant General's payroll is not the means by which you use to coerce people to do things that you want them to do. It is a means of compensating people or remunerating people who have exonerated or who have contributed worthily to the cause of this country. So we don't have to use it as a means of punishing people or coercing people to do one or two things. That is why we are saying that, yes, in as much as we support the exercise of registering people biometrically for their SNIT, because this has to do with our retirement. You know, SNIT has got to do with our retirement. We will also have to do it in such a way that we do not punish people for a rather good cause. So why can't we wait and ensure that, bring us the list of the 26,000 people, sectionalize it. Let's know those who are for health. Let's know those who are for education, civil service, whatever. Give it to their unit managers and see whether we could not reach out to these people. And when we carry out an exercise and we realize that in an attempt to reach out to these people, we could not even reach out to them, then you can take the ultimate decision of expunging their names from the payroll. Why should this be a difficulty? I have a problem with it.
With every assignment comes deadlines, and there should be a deadline that, look, at such and such a date we're going to cut it off. Otherwise, it's just going to leave it open, and then it's back to the status quo.
If there is a deadline, then engage in stakeholder. Get yourself involved in stakeholder engagement. What do I mean by stakeholder engagement? Engage with our unit managers. Engage with teacher unions. Let us all come to some sort of an agreement so that we can inform. We have a blast system. NAGRAT operates a blast system where I can get information to all NAGRAT members within a twinkle of an eye. So that when we all come to a conclusion that on this date, this is the deadline, these are the steps you should have taken. Everybody, inform your downline agencies and offices. We could have informed our downline agencies and offices. Nothing of this nature was done. I can assure you, I have spoken to people who are managers of Ghana Education Service, and most of them were not even aware that this deadline is being arrived at. According to Controller, and to me, I was very surprised that Controller is doing the work for SNIT. According to them, they put it in Daily Graphic. Is putting information in Daily Graphic the most effective means of communicating to people? Whereas we have structures that, because information coming through Ghana Education Service comes through the Director General, to the regional directors, to the district directors, and gets to the schools. So you are sure that you have passed through information through the channels laid down in the Ghana Education Service. If you don't do this, and you go and put information in the newspapers, how many, and if teachers don't read any, and of course, how many people read newspapers these days anyway? I mean, so that is not an effective way of communicating to people. And we don't think that it is someone is interested in punishing people so that they don't get their salary. I don't think that is the objective. And so if that is not the objective, then why the hurry?
I was trying to get the establishment between the SNIT and the Accountant General. Accountant General says if SNIT hasn't taken your biodata, they won't pay you.
That is what they are saying. But Controller and Accountant General itself is taking my biodata. It took some loan for World Bank or something. They carried biometric exercise nationwide. So why do they put their biodata information aside and they want to create the impression to us that they are relying on SNP biodata?
I don't know, is this a means of double checking, making sure that, well,
Fine.
if they've captured you twice, then it's 100% you?
Fine. I don't have a problem with that. But let's do it properly. Let's do it meticulously so that in chasing ghosts, we don't rather catch a human being. We really want to expunge the ghost, the actual ghost, not the human beings. So we do it cautiously so as not to make mistakes. That's what we are talking about.
So, I mean, are some of your members really saying they never heard of this?
Look, I think majority, we have over 600,000 workers on government, public sector workers on government payroll. So if we could register and it's left with only 26,000, you have covered over 80%. And that is a very high mark that you scored. So majority of workers have been captured. So if you have 26,000 having some problems now, we could tarry a little bit and see whether we could identify those people. That's what we are talking about.
I mean, could there not be genuine ghosts? I mean, because if we know they are ghosts, I mean, 600,000, 26,000, could there not be those ones who are...
I called a high-placed person in the public service this morning, and he indicated to me he has not even been biometrically registered by SNP. Just this morning. So then I'm very sure that he's not a ghost. There is the possibility that a number within this 26,000 could be people who are non-existent, and I will not doubt that at all. But at the same time, I can assure you, Nana, that over 90% of the people within the 26,000 are actual workers of this country. That I can assure you.
And at the moment, is the Accountant General not backing down at all? Or?
Well, the Controller Accountant General's position sounds a little bit strange to us because it seems to be obsessed with continuing the exercise, and one wonders why they are so obsessed in continuing the exercise. In fact, at the end of April, some of our members do not get paid. We foresee a situation where definitely and naturally they will agitate and they will come to their union, and their union will have to respond favorably to them. That is what we want to avoid. That is what some people do not understand, and that is what some people want to toy with.
Maybe an unfair question to you, but is there any reason why the Controller and Accountant General cannot share one AFIS machine? The Controller, Accountant, and SNP. Is there no way they can share?
No, we have a very strange system in this country where one wonders why we could not get our national identification system that Controller can pick from, that SNP can pick from, that your employer can pick from, which is a national database, that Electoral Commission can pick from. And yet we allow sectors to spend money to conduct an exercise that can be conducted centrally. If SNP and Controller had decided to even make resources to engage in the exercise that they engage in, I thought it would have even been more beneficial than for individual organizations to engage in exercise, and then now one wants the other to be used as a pawn in ensuring that people get onto my database. That is where the difficulty is. That is where some of us have problems with.
But could there be chances that maybe none of your members are in this 26,000?
No, that would be most unlikely.
You think
because out of this 26,000, information getting to me indicate that about 13,000 are teachers.
Wow.
Yes. I just got that information before I drove into the studio this evening, that out of the 26,000, about 13,000 are teachers.
And could these be teachers who are like in the hinterlands?
Possibly they could be in the hinterlands. Look, my president told me about a place he taught when he finished school called Kasutie, and in those days it was difficult to, so you could, when he wanted to assess his even salary, it was a difficulty because the next bank was several kilometers away from the school. And we have communities like that in this country, hamlets hamlets in this country. You know, so there could be the possibility it could also be the possibility that people have gone on steady leave with pay. And many or others just did not get the information. Or SNIT itself as an institution was not able to map out the country properly so as to be able to reach out to the people. It's a two-way affair, the recipient and the deliverer. Maybe there was a problem as to one could not reach out. And SNIT may be very well dense in Accra, but may not be that present in certain other parts of this country. And let us admit that for a fact.
So, I mean, going forward, I mean, what would you want? What would you want them to do? Give you more time? Change the mode of communication?
Yes. Going forward, we will want to say here emphatically that we are reached the age where we were in a digital age, and that picking biometric information of people is the right thing to do. And we want to support this exercise wholeheartedly. However, we think that the directive to stop people's salary at this time is draconian. We need to give ourselves the opportunity to ensure that we do not, in an attempt to do a good thing, we do not truncate the good intention by making people suffer unduly. Therefore, we are asking for time. Let's come in now. In the first place, we feel they've not engaged us properly. Now, let us have a stakeholder engagement. Give us the list, especially the list that comes from Ghana Education Service, the 13,000 teachers that have been informed are part of this 26,000. Give us that information, and let's see whether we will not be able to read, because we will know which region each person is. We will know. We will even know which district the person is teaching. And once we get the district where the person teaches, we will know the school the person teaches. It's very, very easy to get. Once we are able to do that, we'll be able to reach the people, inform them that within a week or two, you have to register biometrically and you'll be paid.
So realistically, how much more time?
We even wrote in our letter to the Ministry of Finance that give us 1 month. And I have a difficulty to understand why giving us 1 month is a difficult thing to do.
Well, because they've given they've given ample time. So it's like you want to play the game your way.
No, right? You see, SNIT itself it looks as if SNIT itself is becoming a little bit too institutionalized. So it has a difficulty in dealing with workers, because the approach of SNIT seems to be a little bit, for want of better words, seems to be a little bit ivory tower approach, thinking that once I put information in Daily Graphic, everybody should read Daily Graphic and everybody should get the information. That is absolutely an ivory tower approach, which is not practical. We feel, no, if government, when we are coming to negotiate for increase in salary or otherwise, do you know how government informs us? Letters are sent to every union a week or two before time. When we are getting close to the date, reminders are sent, because they will need everybody to be at the Public Services Joint Negotiation meeting so as not to leave anybody out. If SNIT had used this modus way of work, we would have been better informed. But to put something in a Daily Graphic and think everybody is informed, as a matter of fact, it's a little bit an ivory tower approach.
Well, I think the argument is that these are the graduate teachers. These are the finest. These are our ivory tower teachers.
Not everybody in this list will not be a graduate teacher. We're talking about people who are teaching from all levels of education. And not only teachers also. We have a lot of non-teaching work, non-teachers, that is the non-teaching staff, our laborers, our drivers, our security, those who work in our pantry, and all that in this list.
We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll see how it is that we can move forward. Don't move. Well, 26,000 teachers' names to be removed from payroll by the Accountant General. Accountant General were able to pick them biometrically, but unfortunately, SNIT couldn't pick them, and therefore they say, well, if you don't have the double registration, you don't have the single pay. But since I have the Vice President of National Association, I'll let him comment on Galamsey. What's the graduate teacher's position on Galamsey?
Yeah, our position is that it is absolutely unacceptable what we are doing to our country, what we are doing to ourselves. Let me take it from the point of our children who are supposed to be in school. When you go to those Galamsey sites, you see children as young as 5 years, 6 years. And this is the age of a child when not properly taken care of. You have a spiral all over to old age. The child should be in school, the child should be reading, the child should be writing in school. That child is being made to feel that he or she can make some money in Galamsey sites. Once you lose that generation, you lose it altogether, because they will not even see the consequence of pollution. They don't see the consequence of not being in school. They don't see what it means to prepare themselves properly for the future. So it has a direct bearing on the performance of children at a very early age and their relation to education. When we are not too careful, we destroy our future. That is number one for me as a teacher. The second aspect is environmental pollution, the chemicals that are dropped in the water. And these very children are going to be the first victims of some of the consequences of what we are doing to the environment, especially the pollution of the water and the environment that we engage in, just because we feel we can make some money. Look, as a nation, we need to take a very definite stance and take the very definite decisions. Let us not say that, let us take the decision halfway and create caveats for people to do it in this. Look, when you do that, just an old man was on radio this afternoon. I have forgotten the radio station, and says that, look, he knows that yes, the excavators could have come to the main roadsides, but in the night, they should get into the forest and see what is happening. They have decided to work at night and leave the sites during the day. So, as a teacher, it is having serious effect on our boys and girls in school. What are their counterparts in other enclaves doing at that age? Go to Asia. Are their counterparts dealing with Galamsey, or they are in the classrooms? So if in the next 10, 20 years we still say that Asian tigers, what are we going to describe ourselves? African what? Mosquitoes?
God knows.
Are you getting the difference? People will need to take such definite decisions for the future of our children and for the future of our society. When I traveled to Takoradi and I crossed the pra water is brown. And I wonder whether any fish can survive in that brownish water. And so you kill local livelihood. Local protein is denied the people. If we're also not too careful, the mainstay of our economy, which is cocoa, is going to go down the drain, because cocoa farms are being destroyed to become Galamsey sites. So the mainstay of our economy is also going to get destroyed. And then orientation of the people to think that the environment do not matter and that what they find in their pocket today is what matters. That is also another problem. Nana, do you know where the greatest disappointment is? The greatest disappointment is that the people behind this exercise are the big men and women of our society.
Who should have stopped
Who
it?
should have stopped it? The politicians, the security agencies, our local leaders. Who should have stopped it in the first place are the people in this industry. Because when you look at those boys and girls, how many of them have the wherewithal to purchase any excavator? How many of them have the wherewithal to purchase the implements that are being used for this? It tells you that there is a big man or a big woman somewhere who is the financier of this exercise, and the boys are just taking advantage of that to survive. That is how I see this exercise. I will commend our media houses very, very enormously that they have taken the fight. They have advertised, they have publicized it. The publicity of it will die if those reposed with the authority do not pursue to the logical conclusion. Then we would have lost the fight.
Right. we should pursue it.
Yes.
Even though we're looking at the teachers not being paid, and since you're a teacher and you're here, one of the major things which is arising in so many aspects, protection of environment, sanitation, and today on That's My Opinion, I was talking about how we treat artisanal jobs as if it's a curse,
Yes.
it's a sin. How are you going to help us to rethink? Because it's all happening in our thinking.
Yeah.
And each and every one of us go through a teacher one way or the other. So I don't know who starts it. Is it going to be a government policy? Is it going to be like a NAGRAD sit down and say, listen, the people coming out, the model that we are using, we are bringing out mosquitoes. How do we bring out African tigers?
Nana, I once was a host on a radio program, and I was really complaining as to why our polytechnics were having more humanities than vocational technical education. So I spoke to the former principal of Sunyani Polytechnic that we are losing sight of the objectives for which the polytechnics were established. So the principal told me that, yes, Angel, if I really, what you are saying is right, but if I really decide to admit technical and vocational students, I will not get students from my polytechnic. The problem is starting with the type of orientation we have at the basic school level. That it is the failure, those who fail, who get into the artisanal careers. That is absolutely wrong, because carpentry is moved on in the world. Carpentry is no longer the hammer, nail,
joinery,
very professional things, taking care of changing people's rooms and designs and all that. That is why carpentry and joinery is got into as we speak. It's no longer the nail hammer thing that we were used to. Building technology is no longer the mason block thing, but it's gotten to a higher level because those people have really developed it into a profession. Do you know, Nana, that if you want people to tile your house, 90% of people who might be tiling your house are from Togo?
Yes, yes. Funny enough, I was at Asogle today, speaking to an Anasimeni, who's one of the Asogle guys, and he says when they were building, you know, setting up, declaring the land and making the platform, he said they were from Togo and Benin.
Yes. If you want this a plaster ceiling thing that people do to beautify their rooms, they are not Ghanaians. They are from outside this country. And a day, a labourer in that profession earns more than 60 Ghana cedis a day. And because we do not have a proper system, they don't even pay tax to anyone. How many workers in this country make 60 Ghana a day? So whereas we are looking at our educational structure, we also have to look at the curriculum that we churn out. Content. Can we revisit the content in our educational system to make education very relevant, one, to the beneficiary and also to society? We are producing too much grammar graduates, you know, and we are not able to produce in areas that are innovative, in areas that are marketable, in areas that can offer jobs to people. But we are producing in areas where we are, as if we are all training people to become clerical practitioners. Those days in our history is gone. Look, boat making. I was reading about certain countries that make, and they are making boat with different materials, not wood, with different materials all over the place. When you get to Jamestown, they are still using dugouts. Meanwhile, our forest is depleting very fast. A time will come, we can no longer have dugout canoes and so on and so on. So we need to sit down and review the content of our education. We need to review the content of our education and educate parents to appreciate the new thinking.
Let's take this interview. Go back to why it is that I got Angel here with regards to teachers not being paid. There was an interview with the Controller Accountant General. Let's hear what they said.
We've not received any contrary instruction as to the instruction given by finance. So the status quo still remains that those 26,000 employees who haven't gone through the SNIT re-enrollment will not be paid their salaries in April.
If a worker wishes to remedy what they consider to be an anomaly, what would they do?
The process is that employees are supposed to go to that discussion has to take place at finance. The union can engage the ministry on that.
Okay, so that was the Controller and Accountant General sticking to his grounds, but I'm sure somewhere in between the lines, peace will prevail.
We hope and pray that this is not something that a union should go on strike for. This is not something that there should be any strike or there should be any demonstration. This is just understanding and join and finding solution to the problem.
They're talking about settling with the finance ministry if you have any issues.
Yeah, we have also written to the finance ministry and indicated to the finance ministry that we don't think the way we are going is the right way to go. I hope by close of tomorrow we get some positive response from the finance ministry so as to move forward. It is not an exercise that we condemn. It is not an exercise that we do not want to be part of. It is an exercise that we feel that if we get a little bit cautious and get a little bit meticulous, we'll do a better job. You understand? And I think opportunities should be given to everybody to do a better job. It is for the benefit of the society. What will I benefit if people who do not work are being paid? It really even affects me as a professional, because then monies that ought to have gone in to pay me better is being used to pay somebody who is not on the who is not working. So I will not support that any day. But we are talking about a situation where very hard-working workers may lose their pay just because of this exercise.
So for now, you need your 13,000 approximately, if it's true.
Yeah.
You need those names.
Yes.
And then you cross-check.
Yes. Happily, whilst I was here, I just got a text message that 13,000 is already been lodged with the Ghana Education Service. So we'll try and see whether we can even access it tomorrow.
Okay.
So the 13,000. So if we're able to access the 13,000 tomorrow, we will study it, sectionalize it, and see which regions, which districts have been affected the most, and so on and so forth, and see how we move with regards to that. We, as I indicated, NAGRAT has a blast that we are able to. So tomorrow we will be able to send messages to all our members nationwide that if you have not done the biometric exercise or registration exercise with SNIT, get to the nearest office and do the biometric exercise with SNIT. But we again will state that SNIT ought to have done more by getting to where the workers are.
So are we assuming that all these 13,000 have been captured by the Controller Accountant General, but not by SNIT?
Yes. You see, that is where I have a little bit, because nobody on Controller and Accountant General's payroll today can be on the payroll without being biometrically registered.
Okay.
Nobody. So already the workers have been digitally and biometrically registered by Controller.
So ghost, there can't be ghosts in the system now.
You see, where there could be ghosts is where there is a collaboration. Let's say the headmistress of a Dumasa school, realizing that a teacher is left the school, fails to notify her superiors or his superiors, and still continues to allow salaries to be sent to that non-existing teacher. Into what account will the salary go? Then there's a collaboration between the head and the teacher to be receiving salary whilst he or she is not working. Okay? But the system that we have now, where every month the headmaster will have to authenticate and validate the presence of a teacher and send it to controller before advice is given for payment to be done. And there is a punitive, and a head of a school is punished when the head fails to inform his or her superiors that a teacher is not in the school. So we have a system that controller is put in place that has been working very well for the past few months. If anything at all, I thought that SNIT could have come to controller that I have this 13,000 or 26,000. Can we check from your biodata whether they have bio information with controller? We have a difficulty in doing those things in this country, and we create problems for ourselves.
Well, that could have easily meant that maybe SNIT was not able to reach them. If SNIT had seen controller,
yes, controller, then they could have
yes,
picked, have those names. These are people working in these areas. So you'll be surprised that there are times that even when it comes to technological interface, somebody may be using Oracle, another person may be using a different thing. Therefore, there's a difficulty in transferring information and so on and so forth. These are things that people in those areas should take decisions so that we can really transfer information as quickly as possible. When you walk into the airport in Heathrow and you've committed a crime in any part of London and then you are caught. I mean, you cannot escape because your fingerprint is on the national server somewhere and you can be caught. We need to be looking at those people and be implementing such policies so that if a teacher is in a Dumasa, information of that teacher can be accessed at Ghana Education Service headquarters, and they should know whether he is working or he is not working. So for us, we think that we are smashing the small ant with a sledgehammer, and we could have avoided that situation.
Well, let's hope it ends. But there's no strike or anything.
No. This is not something that we think we should get to the point where we go on strike, because we think that if you have once you even have a number, it means you have identified some people. Bring the people. Let's search for the people and let's get the people registered. If after that we still don't have people getting registered, you expunge their name from the payroll. It's as simple as that. Why should we as a people split heads on this for children? You see, one thing about labor takes seriously the situation where its workers are not paid. That is our number one and most sensitive obligation, to ensure that people who have worked are paid. So it is not just by the flick of the hand that leads to the removal of people's name from payroll. If you look at our conditions of service, a person ought to be absent for X number of days. And before a final decision is taken, we will have to even carry out what is known as search to ensure that the person, other than that, people will be victimizing people and be taking people off salary and so on and so forth. So just a common directive from the Ministry of Finance should not lead to the expansion of people's name from payroll. And we don't think that is right at all.
Apart from expansion, there were some teachers who were struggling with their monies being paid to them.
Yeah.
Has that issue been resolved?
Absolutely not. We still have a lot of teachers who are owed arrears as far back from 2012 who have not been paid. You see, these are some of the reasons why we are so disturbed, because the moment people's names are taken off payroll in April and they appear after 2 or 3 weeks to get registered, to get their names back on payroll or to even return the money so taken away from them will now become another struggle. We have had numerous cases where mistakenly people's salaries have not been paid. To get those arrears paid is not an easy exercise. We wanted to avoid that situation, and unfortunately we are going to get there, and you will see people knocking at the doors of the unions that in April my salary was taken off, I have gone to register myself with SNIT, they have not restored that salary to me, and it goes on for months and for months and for months, and then we all get ourselves in trouble.
Let's see how we can avert this. But once this thing has been merged, are we going to have that seamless thing where teachers are no more going to complain about I didn't get paid? It looks like there's so many checks and balances being put in place.
Yes. Let me say happily that for the past few years, efforts is been made to reduce the incidence of people's names getting off payroll, people's salaries not being paid, people even paying people wrongly, paying people on the wrong rank, and so on and so forth. Efforts are being taken. And I think one major effort that is being taken to solve this problem is this digitization of the system. And then when the system gets digitized, manipulation becomes reduced. Because certain people even sometimes intentionally manipulate the system to their advantage. That incident is getting lowered as the days go by. So I will admit happily that we've made a lot of strides in that endeavor. Again, information flow is become more exact than it used to be. The teacher knows in the school, the worker knows, the public servant knows, the civil servant knows that I have to make myself present at work, and my manager will have to know that I'm at work before I get compensated for. So in those days where for about a week or two the teacher will be nowhere to be found, then at the last week of the month he appears and then he ought to be paid. Those days are no more as it used to be. And that also benefits our children, because absenteeism was one of the problems that was affecting performance in most of our public schools. Those things are no longer what it used to be. That is not to say that we don't have incidents that are reported in certain isolated cases. So strides have been made, and we will also have to support and make sure that we maintain the gains that have been made all over the years.
But to end, going back to educational revolution, I mean, what can the teachers do to change the format? Well, this format that we are using, like you're saying, is bringing too many clerical graduates, and there aren't enough clerical jobs out there. So there are so many marketers, and we don't produce anything to be marketed. I mean, who should start? Is it a government policy, or is it a teacher to say, listen?
No, Nana, this is something that we cannot leave in the hands of government or leave in the hands of the teachers. Nana, I know the role you are playing for your community as far as education is concerned. You have not trumpeted it yet, so people do not know. What you are doing in Edumasa, where 5-year kids are reading, if we replicate that nationwide, there will be a revolution. The fundamentals. 2, we need to come clear with what our final objective of education should be. If that is done, then we come up with policies. It should not be a political party policy. It should be a people policy. That where we've come to in this stage of history, we have decided that we need to develop artisanal skills and make people employable, manipulative skills to turn around our society. And in doing this, this is the way to go. There should be a reorientation of our educational practitioners themselves and reorient our parents. By so doing, society will get reoriented. If we do not do that, we will continue doing these things, churn out so many graduates onto the streets, and the people will not be employed.
Well, you heard it. You heard it from the super teacher himself. We need to go back and rethink the purpose for which we are trying to educate. That's one very powerful statement. The reason for which we are trying to even adopt education in this country. Once we find it, and then we channel our policies there. Thank you very much for staying. I always give you this number, 024366 2001, 024366 2001. Tante's Fashion, they make my shirt for the show. And once again, I want to say big thank you to the moderator, Reverend Professor Cephas Omenyo, the Presbyterian moderator, whose first Easter Sunday as a moderator honored us with his presence at the Dumasa. Beautiful sermon. Thank you very much, Prof. And thank you very much, Angel.
Thank you,
and with this revolution thing, I think I may have to invite you again so we have
I am
a
always
good
ready
conversation
to come.
about that.
I'm always ready to
Thank you very much. Tomorrow we're back to do this all over again. Thanks for watching.